Well, that didn't even faze Sheena whatsoever. She's like, I can't die because I'm already dead. And Sheena's like, what does that even mean? I don't know. It's just what they told me. Oh, is that like you're a ghost? I don't know. Hey, look, daisies. That did not go the way that I thought it was going to go. Like last episode, I was predicting this is going to completely shatter Sheena. She's going to be like, oh my gosh, she's actually a monster because she's already dead or something like that. No, it makes sense too. These kids are like, this is an orphanage. They only know what they're being taught. Sheena could just be completely oblivious to what this even means. What does death even mean to her? That whole thing there. So it's like funny to have this whole build up. Omi's over here up in the window, like recording the whole thing with her little like portable recorder magic. And Sheena's just like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Flowers. It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, episode 4, really good episode of I Want to Love You to Your Dying Day. Really solid stuff. Big reveals around this one, especially the whole, resurrection magic. And I like that they're not like beating around the bush with that stuff. They're coming out clean about exactly what happened. Now, there could be a lot of like oddities to the whole situation about the mother that we could get into, but at least it's not trying to hold its cards too long. I love they're actually revealing things on a regular basis here, but yeah, I think one of the more interesting things about this episode is obviously pulling the camera back. They finally pulled that perspective back and finally gave us a bigger picture. Not a huge picture. It was like this little meeting amongst individuals about what the higher ups want them to do, but still was a nice little look into what's going on there. And yes, seeing that obviously they're overly reliant on Mimi, that this country as a whole seems to be aware of Mimi's ability and they're put her to use. And now we see with the ending of this episode that she's been around for generations. This Mimi has been around for seemingly hundreds of years. So we got that whole clarification there that Mimi's this very, very old vampire. We're doing the 300-year-old vampire trope. But yeah, let's get into the meeting. I do want to talk a bit about the meeting itself. That yes, they have these individuals coming together. They're talking about how the country itself is pushing them to, use these students that have been trained in battle magic. Now, there's the interesting thing. They said data shows that they're more effective than conventional soldiers. That's interesting. Now, my assumption there has been for a while now, they have been so short-handed, they're using the students, that this world has been in war for so long that they're digging the bottom of the barrel, and it's literally, before the kids even get to adulthood, they're having to be used because they're just struggling that much. But they said that, yes, while we are short-handed, they're still children. We're still sending children to battle. So there's a moral conundrum here they are struggling with, but at the same time, they are noting that they're seeing the children are more effective. Now, I kind of wonder which direction this can end up going. I wonder if it's going to go in the route of something like a Gunslinger Girls, or if it's going to be more of the idea of just the potential of a child being greater than an adult. Like, the more you get older, the less capability you have in magic. Maybe your mana capacity shrinks. Maybe your amplification of the magic itself decreases. Something like that. That they show that children themselves just have more power in general. It's just you have to work around the fact that they're kids. You have to work around that whole, that little pesky moral aspect there. Or I wonder, if it goes the route of something like a Gunslinger Girls, and typically a lot of child soldier stories. And I mean, it literally is reality, let's be honest. Unfortunately, there is still a reality of this in this world, that children are effective in combat scenarios because other soldiers of the opposite side have a struggle with them. That it's not necessarily the children themselves are more powerful, it's just the effect that it has upon the opponent seeing the children, that they assume that they are not battle ready, that they're just children, that they ignore them, or potentially just they let down their guard, and that there is a moral struggle for the individual to fire upon the children. Again, it's something that technically has happened on the battlefield. It still to this day happens on the battlefield, is countries using children as sort of Trojan horses. Send the children out there with the package, and nobody thinks or suspects that they are a target, and they let them through or whatever. Or again, it caused that hesitation. It's a big struggle, and again, I can technically see them seeing that in the data, that they're more effective because they just don't die as often because the other side's struggling with killing them. That kind of thing. I wonder. I really do wonder. It would obviously depend on how used to fighting children this world is, and how they can get over that. But again, of course, they also, in this little meeting, do acknowledge the fact that Mimi is being overly relied on. Duh. She doesn't die. Why would they not use her? But it does technically in this episode also get into the fact that she is, her potential is greater too. It's not just that she can't die, it's that she has a high capacity of magic. I wonder if that is a byproduct of living for so long, Or it could be an aspect that because that she doesn't die and that she just rushes in the battle, that she's more effective. Or it could have been the reason why. I guess get into the whole thing that I got a theory around with Mimi herself and why she was resurrected. Could she have been resurrected because of her potential was so high? That they could have forced her mother into resurrecting her because they didn't want to lose her as an asset. That she had such a high capacity and a capability in being a mage that way back in the day, they went around that little taboo. That they forced her to break the taboo in order to resurrect Mimi, or I would assume that my mother would want to do that in general, but could she have been forced, or at least her hand forced, through killing her daughter to resurrect her, to keep her around? Something like that. But yeah, that all said, we got to talk about the resurrection thing. That again, we did reveal at the very beginning of the episode, or again in the last episode, that yes, Mimi has already died, that she was resurrected. We find out later on this episode from Fran that yes, it was in fact her mother. Her mother broke a taboo and resurrected her. This is a taboo because apparently hundreds of years ago they decided to make the resurrection spell forbidden magic. Now here's the oddity, because yes, we have it like seems a little bit too convenient, right? Sheena, after talking to Mimi, goes to class, and Omi immediately is talking about resurrection magic. If that is not a red flag, Sheena, I don't know what is. If you go into class the next day and suddenly they're talking about resurrection magic, I think Omi knows that you had that conversation. But no, yeah, Omi, seemingly because Fran told her to, decided to teach classes on resurrection magic so that they all know why Mimi is, no longer dead or whatever. But yes, they talk about forbidden magic, something that has been forbidden for a long time now. And it's odd that they get into exactly why it's forbidden magic. Why do you think it's forbidden magic? Sheena says, because it'd be really cruel to make somebody live forever. But she's like, it's not really what I was looking for an answer, but this could be a byproduct of it. No, she gets in the idea that it's not right for one life to be sacrificed for another. I'm not buying that whatsoever. That was exactly what she said. I think that's exactly what she said. Trading one life for another is unacceptable under any circumstances. BS. I'm calling absolute BS on that. I wonder why they don't. I really am curious why they don't. Because, I'm sorry, if they are struggling with resources, if they're having problems right now with fighting back the opponent, and they're having to rely on Mimi and children, why would you not do this? I can see if there was the existence of resurrection magic, and I was a government that probably lacks all morality here, because obviously they are sending children to battle, so I don't see this government, this country, having any moral compass. If they're sending children out on the battlefield, they have no moral compass. So I don't see why this country wouldn't be so willing to go, okay, half of our soldiers, sacrifice yourself for the other half. That way we have an entire army of undying people. Why wouldn't you do it? I don't see why you wouldn't do it. It seems like an easy win. What's keeping them from doing this? There has to be something. The main thing that's sticking out to me is the fact that Mimi was resurrected by her mother. So that obviously implies to me that there is a strong connection. I think that's sort of what I believe it was Saren and Adi was talking about. I think they were talking at some point about specifically how there had been like a bond there or something like that. That potentially this only works for people that are close to each other. Similar to how healing magic works, honestly. And I think that's probably going to be a byproduct of it. Like this same thing is the same spell. It's just, it's on a dead person. And that's probably what they'll find out eventually, is that it's like the whole kissing magic thingy and the sink and all that kind of stuff. They'll probably find out it's probably the same thing. But either way, it seems to imply with their little conversation that it requires a bond. Because even later on in the conversation, she's like, would you resurrect me if you see me die? What'd you do for me? I think there is an element here where I'm like, obviously they're implying that eventually they're going to have that conundrum, but that it requires a bond. I have no doubt that, yeah, at some point in the series, one of the two of them is going to fall. I'd imagine it's probably going to be Saren. I think Saren's going to die, and Adi is going to resurrect her. Or she's going to at least attempt to. There's going to at least be an attempt to. But I can totally see Adi sacrificing herself for Saren, and Saren having to live on with this conundrum. That's really the biggest problem with it, right? The biggest problem with it is sort of what Sheena said. It's more of the fact that you're going to have to live on with the mindset that somebody died for you to live on. And it would probably cause sort of like a torturing. That could be a reason why it's forbidden magic, or at least it's been designated as forbidden magic, is because similar to what Fran said at some point, those that are resurrected are sort of, what does it say? Problematic relics of the past age. that the society itself has sort of deemed anybody that has been resurrected as being a problem because they're not controllable. That because you can't control them, they don't want them to exist. They're afraid of making them because they have had in the past where they have gone berserk. And a lot of it could be either they lose their minds or potentially they, through the grief of the resurrection process, they are uncontrollable or go crazy. Because again, if there's an element where you have to have some sort of like, bond with the individual that you resurrect, that's obviously going to impact you a lot. So, for instance, again, at some point, Seren dies. And then Ari uses resurrection magic to resurrect her and dies. Seren now has in the mind that I am going to live forever, and the person that I want to be with is no longer with me. She goes nuts. They can't control her. She goes nuts. They had such a close bond, and that close bond allowed for her to resurrect her, and now she's going to go crazy because that close bond has been severed forever. And potentially the only reason that Mimi is controllable is because she was so young. She was so young and she had no semblance of her mother, probably, that she doesn't even get it. We've never seen Mimi talk about her mother. Why? She potentially doesn't know, or maybe she forgot her before her mother resurrected her. That maybe she lost her memories just before it happened. Something like that. Anyways, that's all I'll say. That's my kind of theories around this whole situation, but it was kind of interesting to have it kind of revealed through these little conversations. Again, the class suddenly talking about it, and again, Fran just coming clear with her. Yeah, I'll talk to her, don't worry. Comes in there, is like, yeah, this is what happened. Her mother resurrected her. They're kind of problematic creatures, these resurrected people, and yeah, she's got this extraordinary power that makes her crucial for our country, so they're going to keep using her. They're going to keep using her. She's going to keep alive. She's going to keep battling. I like there's a lot of, struggle with Sheena in this episode, and the idea that she wants to do something for Mimi. She's acknowledging that Mimi is constantly going out to battle. She's constantly smiling for her, running off the battle, protecting her in a way that she's never having to go out to battle. And yes, right here, I feel bad for Mimi that she's doing this, but it's like, what am I going to do? Are you going to go out to battle instead of her? No. So what are you going to do? And she's like having these moments of going, you know what? I want to be able to help her, but I can't. I want to protect her, but I can't. I don't have the capability of doing anything for her. So it does seem like she's shifting from that mindset to more of a, I'm going to support her. Because I can't fight, she's the one that fights, I'm going to at least support her. I'm going to go in the supporter role in this relationship, which again is going to lead into seemingly her wanting to bring joy to Mimi. It is kind of curious to get into the fact that since Mimi has been, time locked for so long, that she hasn't really had many moments to really kind of develop as a person. So it does seem like Sheena is, at least facilitating that for her. But I do kind of wonder how much of her maturity and a mental growth is stunted as well. That they're going to go into the idea that she literally cannot progress as a person because she's been sort of locked in place by the resurrection spell. Which again does get into the whole idea of this being something that's uncontrollable and potentially leads people to being crazy once they get resurrected. But what else than that? I think I pretty much hit most everything I want to talk about in this episode. I am very curious as to why Seren so badly wants to learn about the resurrection spell. It does make me kind of wonder if she potentially fears her or Adi dying and wants to have the resurrection spell as a potential way of getting around that. Or does she have somebody else that she wants to resurrect? Is there something else that she wants to bring to life? Kind of curious. It does seem like she's overly obsessed with learning more. I am kind of curious about what Fran's doing. Like we even noted here with Omi saying, what are you planning? What are you doing? It's obvious that you leaked information. It's obvious that you went out of your way to tell Sheena. It's obvious that you're trying to push this whole thing. We've had times where you had Fran, she's looking around a corner. The first meet that Sheena had with Mimi, she was there. She could have stopped it. She's not. What is she doing? Why is she trying to push the two of them together? My theory that I have right now is potentially that she might see that Mimi is growing stronger by being around Sheena. We've seen it with the fact that she's healed Sheena. She said that she never taught Mimi that. She's seeing that Mimi is getting stronger and her potential is growing. My current theory is that she's waiting for the moment that they'll grow so close to each other and Sheena will die, that Mimi will resurrect Sheena. And that'll confirm that Mimi has the capability of resurrecting people without dying. Because, the whole thing about resurrection spell is that you die to give life to the other person. Mimi's already dead. So the possibility that if she goes close enough to somebody, but that she could potentially resurrect them and not die because she's already dead. I'm curious if that might be Fran's end game there. It could be that she just knows that Mimi's been locked up for generations and just wants Mimi to have, happiness. She's just screwing around. She's just testing things out. Like, oh, she gets in trouble for that. I'm just testing things out, though. We had quite a bit in this episode about Omi being kind of conflicted about the loss of that one girl. At least kind of showing that Omi herself isn't like this heartless teacher, that she has been, in turmoil over this death for so long. And again, we kind of get a sense of that before, that these people are, a little bit conflicted by this, having to send children out into battle. But yeah, having this moment where I think it was Shina's dorm mate, that Omi is like conflicted about it, that her death was something that really kind of is bogged her down. Enough that she's going out there and she's trying to, make sure that their lessons for the next mock battle is like really good. Make sure these things are nice and tuned for them, because these kids have got to shape up. Because again, they're technically asking for these children to go out in the battle because they're more effective. So we got to use them more. Interesting to see that Shina, for a brief moment, thought that she was getting called out to battle, that she was actually contemplating running away. Like, I actually thought about it when I heard my name, my number. I'm like, I gotta run. I gotta run. Ew, that's my thoughts on episode 4. Really solid episode. A lot of good reveals here, and got my intrigue kind of build up around, especially the mother. Like, what actually happened there? Was it simply that she resurrected Mimi, or was it kind of her hand being forced there and the government kind of accepted it and decided to kind of keep it? And again, question mark here is, why exactly is it forbidden? There's got to be something else there, because I don't see this country having like a moral compass not to just build like an entire army of undying people. There has got to be a reason that they don't do this. And again, it could be a lot to do with control. They just can't control them. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. Until next time, y'all take care.